Welcome, Sadkhas. Vedic mathematics is sequentially taking us to the domain of Vedic technology of sunlight. Surya Rashmi Vigyan. Vedas flourish parallel with the happening within rays of the sun. It is along Chatuspeeth format that Surya Rashmi, ray of the sun, flourishes parallel with spatial order of creators of space for space as 16 prisms frame. Let me state it again. Along Chatuspeeth format, Surya Rashmi, ray of the sun, flourishes parallel with spatial order of creators of space for space as 16 prisms frame. Sadkhas fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with Vedic chased universe format shall sit comfortably and to glimpse and imbibe this transcendental phenomenon. The transcendental phenomenon of happening within Surya Rashmi is to be glimpsed and imbibed. The sequential table of organization features of these 16 prisms frames is being taken up today in this session. First of all, let us be parallel with the organization of Chatuspeeth. Within Chatuspeeth manifests 8 directional frame, and the 8 directional frame as along Ishan cone for reach along Agin cone as hypercube 32 of summation value of 26 is parallel with the organization of Vishnu Puran. With this insight, one can go a step ahead and revisit the inner and outer circle of this format, as this is the format of manifestation of transcendental code values of Ganita Sutras. With this background, we can take up the table of 16 prisms frames. We know that Chatuspeeth is availing synthetic setup of square of quadruple quarter squares of contribution of 9664, total 25 structural components. This in next phase manifests as 8 directional frame as a synthetic setup of 8 triangles, and the contribution of structural components comes to be 7 for the first and 4 for the remaining 7, making it 35. Along this structures out the cube as 8 subcubes, as 16 prism setups, and Today, our focus is upon these 16 prisms setup of a cube. Let us concentrate upon the first subcube. Here, all the 6 sides surface plates are intact, and the internal diagonal plane ABEF is the separation plate of a pair of prisms setup of this subcube. Now, let us visit both these prisms distinctively as lower prism and upper prism. Each prism has 6 distinct surface plates: vertical plane, horizontal plane, diagonal plane, pair of sides planes, and the volume folded within these frames. On the computer screen is tabulated the structural components of lower prism of the first subcube. The vertical plane is contributing 9 structural components: 4 corner points, 4 sides, and the surface area. The horizontal plane synthesized with the vertical plane contributes additional 6 structural components as the common joining line of these planes accounts for deduction of contribution for the horizontal plane. Now the diagonal plane is having pair of joining lines, and accounting for that, the remaining contribution of the diagonal plane remains only as 3 components. The pair of sides have contribution of single structural component in the form of area of these sides. And finally, the volume enveloped as a unit has contribution of 1 additional structural component. These 6 components with their individual contribution as 963,111 components makes total setup of 21 structural components. So first cube, the first subcube with its first prism comes to be a setup of 21 structural components. Now let us concentrate upon the upper prism of this subcube. The upper prism as such is having only 5 components as the separating internal diagonal plane has been accounted for as a component of the first prism. The contribution of these 5 components of the second prism as vertical plane has contribution of 6 components, horizontal plane has 3, and side planes and the volume 1 each, making it in all 12 components. Both the prisms as setup of the first subcube make total structural setup of 21 plus 12 is equal to 33. Let us visit it again. Let us take it an exercise. Let us attempt fresh about this structural organization. And once we will be comfortable with it, once we will be imbibing the same, the rest in a way is going to be a repeated exercise. Now, if we take up the second subcube, then this setup again of a pair of prisms will be of contributions of 12 components for both of these prisms. Take this as an exercise, be through it, draw these tables, comprehend and imbibe. And like that, we can take it as blissful exercises for third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth subcubes. And finally, we will see that we are having in all 175 components. Now, this setup of a cube as of 8 subcubes of 12, 16 distinct parts as 16 prisms is the complete setup. And now, if we take a step ahead and if we approach further split for each prism along the 8 directional frame, then we will be reaching at 16 into 8 is equal to 128 sub-prisms. Value 128 is one more than the prime 127, which is the biggest prime factor of the fourth perfect number. It will be blissful to glimpse as that this way Vedic mathematics comprehends and works out the technology of sunlight parallel with the organization format feature of the fourth perfect number 8128. It is a very blissful attainment. Thank you very much.